Hello, I'm Teri Kollath. I'm here today with Ray Boyce of Rosemont, and we're talking about a new series on William Shakespeare. We're calling it 2017 Salute to Shakespeare, and we're talking about 401 years of Shakespeare. Aren't we, Ray?
We are. Actually, the 401st anniversary of his birthday will be this coming April 23rd.
So, not only in this 401 years is the world still totally interested in Shakespeare, but we saw during your last series when we commemorated the anniversary of his death that Shell Point is very interested in Shakespeare.
We have, and that seems to be continuing into this year because we have 61 people at this point signed up for the first lecture. So it's kind of wonderful. It's also kind of intimidating.
No, it was wonderful. Each time you've done this series, this is your third round.
That's right.
And it just gets better and better because the way you're doing this is so interesting for us, Ray, where you actually focus on one aspect of Shakespeare's plays, a drama or a romance or a tragedy. So this time in your series, you're going to end with the sonnets, which is something totally different. And
correct.
You're going to begin in a way that I think is helpful for everybody on Monday, the 23rd, with an introduction and a review and a background of the period. Get us set right in the time and place of Shakespeare.
Well, I think the objective is to, as you say, to cover the four genres of his body of work. So we've been choosing one play from each of those each year. And this year, for all of us, including yours truly, to spend some time on the sonnets, of which there are 154, and they're so famous, just about every wedding you go to, one of the sonnets seems to be read. They're so wonderful, and I think it'd be another opportunity to focus on his language, and that's really an important objective for the class to conclude with. So
there's so much, isn't there? There's language. There is topic. Who would think that topics would remain so relevant for so long? And there's even more, and we're looking forward to other interviews where we find out more about Shakespeare and more about Ray Boyd. But for this, as you come to this first session, one of the things I enjoyed so much was when you actually gave us a printout of what was happening in America at the same time as Shakespeare was writing these plays and sonnets, and it was wonderful to look at.
One of the things that's happened to me, I've become very interested in the Elizabethan era, followed by the Jacobean era, the era of King James I. And the world was exploding. The world was enlarging and becoming much more accessible, so that you had trading companies being formed, you had colonies being established in places like the United States with Jamestown, for example, 1607, if my memory's right. So you had all of these things happening, along with a tremendous amount of turmoil in Europe, but especially in England, where the political and economic turmoil of the country has come to a point in Elizabeth's reign that it caused many, many ripple effects, not only throughout England and Europe, but throughout the world. So it's fascinating the objective of the first class will be to make reference to the plays we'll study, but try to build a context in which they were first written, and then they were produced on the stages, and how they were received by the audiences. That's big. I think that's kind of important, not only to read or study the plays, but to have the context in which they happened. So.
Sure. And as you talk about that, it reminds me so much of what I think is going on today. So how interesting that we can look, 401 years ago, and we can think about what was happening in a world that was exploding, like it is now with internet, and everything happens so immediately to us.
I often wonder what would Shakespeare think of all that's going on, just like you think of other artists. What Mozart could have written if he had an iPad,
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's an interesting topic, and the great thing, most telling thing that I find in my continuing studies of Shakespeare is how relevant he stays to current modern day events and happenings. Whereas a lot of other plays, there are a couple on Broadway right now, and I've just read a couple of reviews where they were much more relevant 40 years ago, but they don't have the durability to be as relevant today as they were then, mainly because the events of today have changed so much. But in Shakespeare's case, you have relevance to so many issues that are happening in our world all the time. It just keeps to go on and on. So.
Fabulous, and we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to study them right here with Ray Boyce of Rosemont.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Won't you make sure to join us, especially for Session 1. Hope you don't have to miss any of them, but Session 1 will really get us started with the 2017 Salute to Shakespeare.